That's a difficult thing, man. I've thought a lot about that. I've thought a lot about art creation, being creative, and the essence of that, and also wanting to do make money while being creative, right? That's the thing, can I do what I love to do and make money at it? And how does that change what I'm doing? Does it cheapen, this is my feelings, this is my thoughts, and this is like, does it cheapen my art or my creativity because I want to make money to do it? I don't know if you've ever had those thoughts, but I'm thinking, okay, am I betraying some process, or am I betraying the essence of creativity by wanting to make money with it? Or is it, or is it always a trade-off? Is it, okay, if I want to do what I want to love, I got to learn how to somehow make it commercial. And somehow does that lessen what I'm doing? Does that, I've listened to Jordan Peterson talk about this a couple different times, because I think he's counseled artists, and he goes, some artists know how to make money and some don't. And it doesn't make them less of an artist because they know how to make money, And I think that's maybe that's a limiting paradigm, that we have. Whereas, somehow I can't be a real artist unless I'm totally poor, unless I make no money at doing it. I think that sometimes I might have the tendency to have sour grapes, like, well, nobody listens to my podcast, but I'm true to myself. So, I mean, I don't want to be there either,
Yeah.
But I find that, and also I got to take into consideration the things that energize me, the things that I gravitate towards versus the things that kind of suck energy out of me. And this wasn't talking to you that did that, but it was what you were talking about. I totally was sucking energy out of me, man. Like thinking about going through that class and, what you're doing, that I was like, oh man, I felt like the energy was like getting sucked out of me. Just putting myself through that. I was thinking, man, if I had to go through that, but then also I admired you too, because you're putting yourself into something difficult to grow, which is, you can't grow without difficulty. I don't think you can. And I think what you're doing is, because I've been reading a lot of Stoic stuff lately, and just bought a new book on Stoicism. I'm really excited to get into it. The Little Stoic Handbook or something it's called. I can't remember the guy's name, but it looks really cool. And plus I get a daily Stoic email, and I like a lot of their thought. I've been studying a lot of that recently, so it's like it's in my mind. But the idea of subjecting yourself to difficult things to grow, really, that's what it's all about, right? To grow as a person. That's what you're all about.
Well, a couple different things there. I'm sorry, man. I oftentimes I'm amazed at your thought process a lot of times, and it's why I have you on. Please don't take it as a shot. It's a compliment. It is intriguing to me, and I pray that it's intriguing to some audience members. It's a mindset that I can certainly remember having more similarities with in the past, where it's like I was always overthinking, analyzing, judging myself, constant. And now to still have that same thing and same problems of sort of slowing it down and shutting it off, or at least directing it. It's just nice to speak to someone that I can level with on that. And I think a lot of people can relate to that constant sort of chatter within the mind. The thing about me, Art, I've heard, in fact, Cam's like this. My friend Cam, I feel like he thinks that if you make money, you're a trader, or if you're pushing to make money, that you're not being true to the art form. And I can certainly understand that mindset. And although it's difficult, I can also understand the mindset of I'm selling. So if I have 0 listeners, this is what it is, and this is what it's going to be, because I can't turn myself into a gimmick. I can't be something I'm not. It's very difficult for me, even in these classes, to put on certain personas that aren't exactly true. So that's all well and good. And I think if you're an artist or you're being creative, then you have to create that balance within yourself. As for me, I don't have that problem. I don't have that problem at all, because let me be real clear here. Besides the conversation that I'm having with a very dear friend, I don't enjoy this at all.
Yeah.
This is work for me, man.
Yeah.
It's a responsibility that I feel deep in the soul, is that point A to point B. My life was so bad, where I woke up every day cursing my existence, wishing I died in my sleep. Why, God, did you bring me back here to this life that I loathe? I was there many, 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 many mornings. Now I'm here, man, where I'm still in the struggle, but I'm joyous, I'm peaceful, I'm content, I'm driven, I'm motivated, I'm getting things done, I'm creating an amazing family. We have amazing experiences day to day. And I can actually enjoy my life. Yeah, there's still struggles, challenges. There's times where I'm still like, there's all this stuff, man. I just really don't want to be alive today. Can I skip today? I have those days. But in general, consistently, I'm having just great days. I'm happy. I have energy. I have love in my life with my family. I have creativity, different outlets that I do that I receive some validation and interaction through. And we have a very full life, so I don't have time to feel like I'm not doing enough. But this podcasting, these videos are me just going, I have to tell people this. It was so friggin' easy, man. When I just got out of my own head, just like we were just talking about, the concept mentals. See, my monkey mind, my relentless mental chatter wasn't like yours. Yours is inquisitive. It's trying to figure things out. It's putting new angles on stuff. It's new ideas and, all that. And I'm sure you have some other stuff, but from what I get from you, it's always that. And that's what I love about you. You're always just, what's out there? What's new? How does this feel? How do people think about this? And you search for that knowledge, and that's respectable. But my monkey mind was, you're a piece of trash. You're a piece of garbage. Nobody likes you. You should go do drugs. You should go drink. All these things constantly.
Right.
Why don't you just die? You're a piece of garbage. Just all the time. Anything I saw on TV, this piece of shit. And I'm sorry that I'm just getting like that. It's just to display my mentality, let's just say 10, 15 years ago.
Sure.
And when I came out of that, and I still have the monkey mind, and it bothers me sometimes, especially when I'm meditating or whatever, or I'm trying to focus on a task at hand, which is the most important thing that we're doing. You couldn't listen to the last episode yet. I didn't publish it, but I will. I have an amazing episode called The Lost Scrolls. It was a huge notebook that I found that I lost on the Championship Mindset Talk. So I'm excited to bring it to the people. But one of the topics that I covered in this upcoming episode, I'll post it before I post this one. So yeah, if you listen to the last episode, you hear me talk about the task at hand, which is always the most important thing that you're doing. And if it's not, do something else. Do the thing that's the most, that way you're focused and engaged, because this is exactly what you should be doing. Or sometimes you figure out, I hate doing this, but this is the most important task at hand, so I might as well do it correctly.
Right.
But I do get frustrated with that monkey mind during those moments, but I've come so far, and it was such simple shifts in my perspective, in my mentality, that I just have to share it, man. I have to give it to the people. Whether right now I have 55 subscribers on Spotify. Thank you each and every single one of you. I'm getting about 100 views, a little bit more, 150, give or take, on Rumble. Every single one of y'all. God bless you. I love you. And that's my mission in life, to pass it along to one person to plant a seed, which we're going to talk about, that I may never see the fruit. And if I were to figure out how to get paid off what I love to do, what I really just could do for hours and hours and hours on end, man, I just was doing it in the grow tent because I was frustrated. And you know why I was frustrated? Because I didn't feel like I had enough energy to have this conversation and do this work. But me clipping and tying things for my cucumber plants to roll up and all these different things in that little tent with all my plants sounds crazy. I could do that all day long and not make a penny. I love friggin' doing it, man. So nice. I think trying to make money off what you're actually passionate about, I think that's more difficult than making money off your creativity.
Yeah, that's true. If they're not the same thing.
So I got some questions for you.
Oh, do it.
And this is a question I have for everybody. And I'll start with myself. The question I have is a very difficult one to ask. It's difficult to ask to yourself, much less another person.
Right.
Knowing that you know them well, as I know Tony. But this is my question, and I'll answer, and then I'll leave the floor open for you. Are there things about yourself that don't necessarily make you happy? Behaviors, thoughts, actions that don't align with who you truly are? Or do you think you could be doing things better and as it relates to your level of happiness? And for me, I'll just speak about my bad habits, things that if I look over the course of 5 years, I've done an amazing job. But when I look at it in the day-to-day, I go, how are you still struggling with this? You know, number one is my caffeine addiction. I've tried to quit caffeine. Oh my goodness. More times than I tried to quit other things that I have had more success with. And man, I can't kick it. I can't kick it. I've talked about this. I have a hard problem. And the problem's always, I don't have enough energy to do all the stuff because besides this work that we're talking about, you know, I'm in the class and then I have 3 kids that fortunately they're taking a nap now. And I do have help with my mom that lives here with us. And she provides an extra level of security. But, you know, just keeping the household maintained and taking care of them, making all the meals, doing all my work for my podcast, doing all my work for my class, and then all the other things that, you know, me and my wife are working on as far as keeping checks and balances and everything in order. But I also have these lazy, awful days like we just spoke about where I could barely work out. I could barely drag myself through these things. And then I'm back. I'm on the caffeine. I'm back onto the caffeine. So that's just one of the things. And it may be a small thing, but I do beat myself up. Why can't you do this? And it frustrates me. And because I also don't always get the things done that I want to get done in the pursuit of what I feel like I deserve. But then I start having feelings of like, well, do you really deserve it if you're not driving hard and finishing your to-go list every single day? Yeah. So I feel like if I could eliminate the bad days, which let's say I have 1 to 2 a week, then that's 2 extra days a week where I'm being majorly productive towards the podcast making money, the farm that I want to do that we just talked about, which is more for my passion and just love doing. And I guess this is the Tony in me that wants to pick people's brain about it. Asking the audience, Creating Greatness Podcast at Gmail, hit me up and asking you, do you feel that way? Do you have things that you wish were different about you? Things that you struggle with that you just can't seem to change no matter how hard you try? And do you think that if you were able to do those things, would you be generally happier?
Well, as I'm wanting to do, and so I'm going to ask your permission. I just want to, because I don't want to take it in a direction that you wouldn't want to go. But I do have something like that. I think the major thing that I would have, but it's real heavy if you want to hear it. I don't want to go, if I don't want to go too heavy if you don't want to.
I don't mind. I could always edit, or if you're comfortable,
I'm okay sharing it because it's my truth and it's what I really struggle. And I think maybe if in any way this might help anyone, I'll share it. Okay. But I have no clue how to fix this, but the thing that I dislike the most about myself is that from the earliest time I can remember, I've always struggled wanting to be alive. I've always needed a reason to want to keep living. I know I had a lot of problems when I was a little kid. And as I got older, you start thinking about like, well, I wish I was dead, all this kind of stuff. And I've been struggling that for 30, 40 years now. And I'm tired of it, man. It's like, I just so tired of, because what happens is I feel so guilty because I have so many things I'm thankful for in my life. I got my wife, she's my best friend and she's my partner and she's always there for me. But I feel bad when I don't appreciate the life that I have because to me, that's insulting her. It's insulting the life we created together. That I don't know how that must hurt her when she sees me because she always drags things out of me and I'll also be like, well, I'd really rather be dead sometimes. I don't feel like life is really worth living right now sometimes. And I know I can't rationalize it in my head. There's no reason. And there's people that were fighting for life inside the concentration camps. There's people in parts of the world that are struggling for one more day. And like, who am I with everything I have and everything I've been given? And everything that all the advantages and all the great, my parents loved me and my wife, and I got my kids and I have a home to live in. I have so many things to be grateful for. But I feel so bad about myself. The fact that when I think about the future, unless my mind, because you're talking about thinking about things, unless I'm engaged in something, in a pursuit of some kind of knowledge or learning something or some kind of goal, that I think of the future as hopeless and I just would rather be dead about it. It's like, I don't think of the future and I'm like, well, what's there to live for? What am I living for? What's the purpose? My whole life I've been searching for this ultimate purpose, ultimate meaning of what is reason to live. Why should I be living? What is the purpose? And I've always provided for my family. I've been working since I was 15. I've always taken care of my kids and my family. I work hard. But when I think about living just as an obligation, it keeps me going. I've told my wife before, hey, I wouldn't kill myself, just because I know that what it would do to you and my kids. It's just terrible to think about it. I don't even like thinking about it. It's horrible. I don't want to die, but I want to live. I don't want the struggle to constantly be about, is life worth living? Do you know what I mean? And a lot of my pursuit of knowledge and I've tried to study my way out of it, man. I've read the Bible probably for over 10,000 hours. I guarantee it. I've studied all different types of philosophies and theologies, trying to understand who I am and why I'm living, and, I get really excited about things and I get really into something and I go a ways with it, but eventually I just find it to be hollow. It's like, there's nothing really there, except for my obligation to my people I love and the people I would never let down. So, and then I think, well, what do people do that don't have anybody? Oh, man. But I'm just trying to say, like, that's the thing I dislike most about myself. A few years ago, because this happens every couple months. I'm always going through this. And I went to a psychologist and I never had went before because I never put much stock in it, because I usually would talk to people and I would find the flaws in what they're saying. Like, their reasoning didn't make any sense to me. So I'm thinking, how could somebody who doesn't understand their own reasoning. How could they help me? But I talked to this person. They were great. It was a real nice lady. She had been in the military. We understood each other. She was my age. I didn't want to to go in and talk to some 19-year-old that didn't. I was like, I just didn't want that. No offense to 19-year-olds, but I'm 50 and I wanted somebody who understood my life. And we talked and she was great. And, but it was just weird because she was like, oh, you should go into psychology. You should be a counselor, because she remembered me from the jails when I used to do prison ministry. And she was like, I don't know. The advice she gave me didn't make any sense. It wasn't able to take advantage of her to help me. She said I should get into some kind of career to where I felt a purpose and I was helping people, but I've never been able to really transition into that. And I don't know if that would change my mindset either. But anyways, like I said, I don't want this to be about woe is me, but that is the thing I dislike most about myself. I dislike the fact that I feel like a selfish, unappreciative person. For not taking advantage of everything I have in life when so many people don't have what I have, and the fact that I've let this stop me so much in my life. There's so many things that I feel like I could have done that I've been passionate about that I've not been able to keep doing because of I always get defeated by this. And even today, like a couple hours ago, I was on the verge of saying, hey man, I can't do it today. I don't want to talk today. But I enjoy doing this, and you got to keep trying to do things you enjoy doing. I enjoy talking to you. I would do this if we weren't recording, but you got to keep doing things that I know that from past. You got to keep doing things you enjoy, even if you don't feel like you have any joy in them at the time. So anyways, that's the thing I would most change about myself. And I'll be honest with you, dude, I have no clue how to do it. If I did, I would have changed it so long ago. I don't know. Meditation. I'm trying, I'm reading, I'm trying. I'm really, really throwing myself. I've been working on mindfulness, being in the present moment, thinking about trying to understand a way to think about, like you were talking about, how your perception of life changed your life. And I believe that 100%, man. And I've gotten this far. I mean, I've been struggling this really since I was a teenager. And I think the victory in some ways is that I'm still alive, and that I haven't ended my life or destroyed my life completely. The fact that I'm able to work and take care of my family, and that's the victory. But man, if I could change one thing, it'd be like a default setting of, wow, I love life. Thank you. You know what I mean? And man, I'm just so ashamed. There's a lot of shame involved. The fact that I'm like that, it's embarrassing because, people that, and people that you see, the people you interact with, you don't want to sit there and tell them, hey, I can't do this, or I can't really be in on this, or I can't really, be as engaged because right now I don't even want to really be around. And, who wants to hear that all the time? I hate to hear myself say it. I hope there's somebody out there that, just keep going. Life is full of good things. So, but anyways, that's what I would change most about myself. And man, if I had a clue how to do it, I would do it already.
Well, I certainly appreciate you saying those things. I, for one, obviously can relate in my past life, but as I just spoke about, even me, where I'm at in my journey, I have days like that, articulated the same exact way. I have days where I just go, I don't want to be dead, but if I just could not live today or this moment,
yeah, right.
I am so miserable. And then, I don't feel the shame like you, but I do tell myself, why are you miserable? You got money in the bank, food in the fridge, roof over your head, kids are healthy, everybody's thriving. Stop it.
So what is it that makes you miserable? Have you, is it just, okay, so it's ephemeral. It's not real, right?
Yeah, I mean, I talked about this before, and I think maybe it's on this list. I don't think we're going to get to any of the list, where I believe a couple different things about reincarnation. But for this purpose, I believe that you are born with certain traits
Right.
that were given to you by your ancestors, and it's your job to
Break the cycle, maybe?
break the cycle, but to become aware of it and not let your ancestors live their lives through you. It's taking it and using it, taking the knowledge that you can get from it and implementing it into your life, because that's what our ancestors did. They did all these things to get us to a point where we're now here. So use that knowledge to go forward. Don't let that knowledge drag you back, because like for me, the anger, the misery, the lustfulness, those were things that I don't know if I want to say born with, but that stuff, I did not cultivate that stuff.
Right.
As soon as I was able to get out there in the world, I was those things. I was lustful, I was angry, and I was miserable all the time. While I did a lot of those demons, mostly all of them, the misery one still rears its ugly head, and sometimes it's unprovoked. Sometimes it's provoked with the smallest of things. And I get my spat of it going, that was nothing. You're totally flying over the edge of misery and anger over a tiny little event that only really disrupted 1 second or 1 minute of your day. And usually it's based upon the premise of something did not go the way that I wanted it to go, the way that I thought it should go.
Right.
And it went some way different, went sideways, caused me a disruption. And because I'm very like, me, I'm like this. So when things go like this, I'm like, no, I need it like this. And that's something that I'm learning, that adaptability, that flow, that I want to get back to you though. I want to say thank you for sharing. I really do, because I think there's a lot of people that can relate to that. Not only just me, and for multitudes of different reasons. Yeah. So if you play that back and listen to what the man was saying, there was a lot there. Most importantly for me, the things that stood out, because I also have no idea how to fix that. I wouldn't even try. Like, you're my friend. Like, I'll talk to you. I'll listen to you. Sure. I'll give you advice. But for me, that would be very pretentious of me and probably wrong. Like, if I was like, you need to do this and you need to do that, I'm just not going to give you that line of bullshit.
Right.
What I would ask you to do, or encourage you to do, is try to eliminate the shame, dude. Because whether there's kids starving somewhere or there's some other person's life that's way more terrible than yours, you're still here in your now, living your life, and whatever emotions and feelings you're having, they're valid to some degree.
Right.
Now, should you bounce it around the old noggin and go, well, no, because of this, that, and the third? Yes, absolutely. Sure. But don't automatically go to shaming yourself or beating yourself up. Because as, an ex-addict, I know that shit doesn't work.
Right.
And it's something that I was just talking about that I do, although the problem is a lot. Well, it's not. It is really a little bit deeper than it seems, because the caffeine and all the workout supplements and all those things is destroying my stomach. I can feel it. It's causing me immense problems.
Right.
Discomfort that borderlines pain every single day. But if I feel tired, I'll still consume it, knowing that I'm going to be dealing with pain and possibly killing myself slowly. That's how deep that is, man. Yeah, and I can oftentimes go to like, you piece of God, and all that stuff. That shit's not going to work.
Right.
So if you can try to shave that edge of shaming yourself, beating yourself up, because at the very least, that is not going to help.
No, I agree with that.
Deepen you into that spiral of nothingness that you fear.
Right.
For a better term. Secondarily, I hear a lot of, I'm searching for a purpose. The counselor told me to work somewhere, that I'm helping people, and I'm doing this, I'm doing that. I'm all in on all these things.
Right.
Well, when are you going to go all in on you, man?
Yeah.
On you, Tony. Straight up. Because at the end of the day, all those things and all those obligations that you're talking about that give you that purpose for life that's kept you here for so long, for 50 years, that's all suffering, man.
Yeah.
Because you're feeling that way. So yes, you're providing, you're doing all the things. I know we're men, we're stand-up individuals, and I know you're always going to do that. But at some point, being selfish is actually helping the whole. And we talked about this. I was just looking at it in the clips. As you improve upon yourself, as you go all in, and your purpose is Tony, man.
Right.
Everything else benefits.
Yeah, you're right.
For the highest possible purpose, and you will thrive, and everyone around you will thrive. And then what I'm starting to notice is, as I push for my highest possible purpose, if I'm not talking about it and constantly harping on people, you should be meditating, you should be praying, you should be working out, and I'm just doing it.
Right.
My kids are doing it. My wife's doing it. I even got my mom doing cold water sometimes, man.
Wow.
I shut my damn mouth and I show improved.
Right.
They see the proofs in the pudding.
Yeah.
Rob does this, now he's that. He's doing YXZ.
Right.
Maybe there's something to it. And now my family life and quality of life is improving even more drastically because I pushed myself to that and did it quietly, led by example, like a true leader from the front lines.
Right.
Not from the back barking orders. They've seen the improvements. I'm getting angry less. I'm more loving. I'm more kind. I don't lose my temper as often. And they go, okay, there's something to this.
Right.
And that leads me to my last point. Because once again, I'm not, you need to do that, you need to do that. I just want to riff with you because you're talking, speaking about things. And
I appreciate it.
And I feel certain ways about what you're saying. And lastly, I'll say this. Slow down on the knowledge intake and uptake on the action.
Yeah.
You know more than almost anyone that you know more than what anyone else that I know probably knows. You got all the knowledge. It's already there.
Right.
Get the books on Stoics and all that. That's great. But no book on tape, no video. None of that shit's going to help you, Tone.
Sure. You're right.
It's not, because has it so far? You read the Bible 10,000 hours. You looked in all sorts of theology, philosophy. Now you're on the Stoics. And you're still battling that same feeling. So this is something that I encourage you to do, is you're out of balance. You're out of balance, mental and physical. Your physical is here and your mental is here. All your energy is going into mental. You need to even that out. And the way that you even it out is, Tone, I'll text you every morning. You text me every day. Put some physicality in your life, man. I don't care. I don't care. If you wake up and you do one friggin' push-up and one squat, I'm serious.
I believe him.
This shit will change your life, man. I set the standard for this for myself, where I was doing 10 push-ups a day because that's all I could do.
Yeah.
10 squats. Now I'm doing 100 push-ups, 100 squats every day, and I'm doing that on top of my workout because I've gotten myself to that point.
Right.
I'm not saying that to brag. I apologize if it sounds that way. I'm saying it because I started at 10, man. Matter of fact, you want to go back to when I was 273 pounds at 5'3", dude.
Right.
I was doing girl push-ups because that's all I could do.
Well, you know, what's funny you said that. I listen to you, and I do appreciate your advice. So it is wanted and appreciated. And I just, it's weird, but I was just listening to an interview the other day with Rogan and The Rock, and they were talking about, he was helping a lot of his comic friends to work out, you know, and I've been in big shape or not shape over my life, but I just started to do body weight exercises, trying to do them every day. I want to get up to 100 squats, 100 push-ups, and 100 sit-ups every day. And I'd like 3 sets of 10 so far, but I've been trying to do them every day. But I wanted to mention a side effect of, you know, the going through, I guess you could call it depression or whatever, is like, you know, it undermines your discipline. And like you said about with your caffeine, you know, when you feel tired, you know, it's like you have this determination to not drink caffeine and not to eat unhealthy or whatever. But when you start to feel a certain way, it affects your actions. And that undermines me a lot too, you know, and not as an excuse, but like that's definitely a battle against that, where, like you get going, you get exercise and you start doing good. And then, something hits you and then now your emotions are like battling against what you've decided to do. But yeah, like, I agree with you 100%. Like that's great advice, man. I want to up my physicality and lower because knowledge without application, right?
Mm-hmm. That's what I was getting to, was that when I speak on physics, first I'll say what you're talking about the emotions or your mental state is everyone's battle. I mean, once I beat myself up about that, about like I'll be out here working out and then like I'll have a rule, don't look at your phone, besides moving the music around.
Right.
Don't look at emails, don't look at texts or whatever, because it could disrupt you. And then I'll break the rule. I'll look at email or I'll get some news that I don't want. And now I'm not even going to work out. I'm going to, and that could be with anything, man. It's because our minds will use anything. It just like they say, human beings could justify murder, right? Because we'll make it logical in our brain. Well, he did this and they did that, and he'd probably die anyway. So, right? Because that's what a human mind will do. So if you allow that voice a little bit of steam, it could talk you out of the most righteous thing in the world.
It's true.
If you allow. And that's why it's so important that we talked about this as well on the Lost Scrolls. Make sure y'all check that episode out. It's banging with gems. Is cultivating the voice that because I have it, and he's an asshole. I can't stand him. He doesn't let me do anything. He doesn't want me to eat ice cream. He doesn't want me to drink coffee. He doesn't want me to watch TV. He doesn't want me to play video games. Oh my God. Sometimes I wish I get rid of this guy.
Yeah.
But the thing is, if I get rid of him, all I got is the guy telling me, oh, you could skip the workout today. You're in pretty good shape. Oh, you could eat the ice cream. You ate pretty good yesterday. Oh, you could watch TV today and lay around. You did pretty good yesterday. And then I got this guy telling me what to do. And nobody wants that. So I work consciously to shut that guy up and listen to the other guy, even though sometimes I do tell that guy, and maybe now I'm really alluding to the craziness that is me. I tell the other guy, shut up, I'm doing what I want today. But to go on to the physicality thing, Tone, the working out's going to help you. And I don't care. Listen, this is what I look like, man. I'm not like some fucking fitness model. I work out for the benefits that it provides me mentally. I mean, yes, I want to be physically in shape. I want to be able to pick my kids up, throw one over the shoulder, grocery in the hand, and be able to do all those things. And that's why it's better for me now, because I'm working out for functionality rather than looks. I'm working out to do the things that I do during a day easily, without pain, and with a boost of energy, which is the paradoxical thing about working out is as you expend that energy, it will return to you later on in the day in the form of, feel good in the brain and energy in the body. But when I was talking about the physicality, I was absolutely talking about that because it'll really get you going. But B was what the other thing that you said, knowledge without application. You know all this shit, man. You've been doing all this work and all this studying.
Yeah.
Time to not choose one and do it. I don't agree with that philosophy. I think you need to go all in on Tony, man, and figure out what adaptation of all the things, man. Because that's something I want to talk about, and maybe we'll get into the next episode that we do. Is when I started this spiritual journey inside myself with the guy that stole drugs, and I was not trying to do drugs. Right. And a little tiny, sticky, metal, dark, hot as hell cell in Bayside State Prison. And I started reading the Buddhist scripture. The guy at the library was a Buddhist. He was a Caucasian gentleman, but he had about 20 years in, and he found peace in it. So he had Buddhist materials. So I did the same thing. I grabbed the Buddhist materials. I liked it. I meditated. It made me feel better. I was a Buddhist. And I was doing all these things as I even got out. I took classes in Buddhism, Buddhist scripture, and all these things. And the good thing about it is, as I learned more and more and more about it, I decided I'm not a Buddhist. I really love Buddhism and the principles of it, such as the Eightfold Path and Four Noble Truths. Mm-hmm. They made me better. And I'm going to integrate that into Rob. But then I started leaning towards yoga and Hindu and learning about Shiva, and learning that Shiva was enlightened thousands of years before the Buddha. And then, moving on to that. And I thought, hey, I like it. I like this quite a bit. I was on my Sadhguru. Then I was a Sadhguru. I was at Isha. I was seeing him live. I was taking all his classes. And then I started swaying back some other ways. So my point of it is, I do it all. I integrated it all. I took.
You're not limiting yourself.
I'm heavy on the Catholicism because my family, my wife's Catholic and my mom's Catholic. So now I'm learning more about it. And once again, I realized, and I guess I'll get to this question I was going to ask you, because this is, I think you'll be able to tell me with. But now that I'm learning more about Catholicism, I'm being around more Christians. And it was like that when I was going to the prison. I felt like I offended them because with Christians, at least the ones that I have met so far, it's Jesus Christ is the way. Jesus Christ is the Savior. Jesus Christ is the one and only God. It's the only way to redemption is through Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
And I pray that I do not offend any of my Christian viewers. I love y'all. I love the Buddhists, the Muslims. I love all y'all. I really do, man. I've integrated all of those faiths in my daily life. The discipline of those. I mean, I put it all in. I use aspects of all of it. And now I'm learning more about Catholicism, but I feel like I'm either offending them when I say that I'm not a Christian, but I'm religious. Like, I don't think they understand that. And I also feel like I'm immediately sort of shifted off to the side when I make that claim. Like, I'm no longer, I was cool. Everyone was talking to me and everything's going great. But when I make that claim, then I'm instantly not as liked as I was before. And that's hurtful.
Right.
But
yeah,
Alan Watts was talking about it, and I thought, well, Alan Watts could say this. And I guess this is my question to you, but let me go on it. And when I break, then please answer the question. It's an opinion question. My belief is that Jesus Christ was an enlightened being. My question to you is, do you believe that he was enlightened since birth? But before I say that, oftentimes I feel like, and I said this in my last episode, I apologize that I cannot believe in a specified religion. I just feel like it's bigger than that. I'm sorry. I think it's way bigger than any of us even can possibly imagine. I believe that it's all real. It's all good. It's all truth. But I also believe that you have to make your own truth out of it. So it's real to you, man. So you connect with it and it makes you feel like living every day. It brings you joy. You feel the presence of your God in you. And that gives you that, I want to live. But Alan Watts said in one of his lectures, I was going over the Eternal Now because I have it on the list, but we're not going to get to it.
I just read it too, watched it too.
When he says about Jesus that the reason why Jesus was going around saying I'm God was because he was enlightened, but he was enlightened with a certain indoctrination from that time period and era of knowledge, so that he couldn't see it any other way because he knew that God was in him. And what he was saying that is if he had like a Hindu upbringing, he would have been more like, I am the universe. And I'm paraphrasing. And I thought, oh, wow. That sounds kind of offensive, like to Christians. But then I go, well, he's Alan Watts. He could do that. And then I feel like, well, who are you to do that? Just in idle conversation or on your podcast. But I really don't mean any harm. And I also don't want to be alienated from my Christian brothers because I love them. So I guess, how do you feel about that, about Jesus being enlightened? Was he born enlightened? And how do you feel about my sort of circumstances surrounding that?
All right. This is interesting because, I was raised Catholic. And then when I was 16 or 17, my mom said we didn't have to go anymore if we didn't want to because we made our confirmation. So I was done and I went and did, and I was doing a lot of non-Christian things. I was partying, I was chasing girls, I was taking drugs. And then I went away in the military, and I met some people that were studying. I took some courses in, in Buddhism and different religions in college. And I had a roommate that was into Eastern religion, New Age stuff. And I was studying this Ekankar religion and out-of-body experiences and all this stuff. Okay. So then when I was like 25, I got married real quick, and I had my first son, and I had this religious revelation, and I didn't go back to the Catholic Church. I became a born-again Christian. And then in a couple of years, I became, they wanted me to be in a ministry. That was encouraged. So I became a pastor, and I was a pastor for about 10 years. All right. So I would have called myself the difference between any religion, I would say, even there's Muslims, Buddhists, Hindus, Christians, there's people that you would call fundamentalists, which they're basically they have a strict dogmatic approach to their religion, right? And they believe that their religion and their understanding of their religion is the only interpretation and the only understanding of it. Now, if you're dealing with someone that's a fundamentalist, you're not going to be able to appease them, or you're going to have a very limited engagement with them if you don't believe exactly what they believe. All right. It doesn't matter your intention. It doesn't matter any of that. As soon as they will judge and talk to you and figure out where you're at, and they'll either try to convert you, or they will say, well, you're not worth listening to because you don't understand the truth, which is this truth. So there's no reason to waste time listening to you. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yes.
Yes. And the reason I started my podcast was because I wanted to, when I very first started it, I wanted to explore the difference between what I believe to be understand truth and knowledge, and the truth about the universe, which I was a fundamentalist. I wanted to understand how other people understood it. Like when we first had our first interview, I wanted to understand how you could understand truth and purpose and meaning and God and the universe if you didn't understand it the way I understood it. And I guess ultimately, my purpose was, now I wasn't going to try to convert anybody, but the purpose was, I thought I was going to ask questions, right? I was going to think about these things and ask them to think about them, and help people to explore, and then that would lead them towards truth.
Kind of backfired.
Well, in some ways it did, some ways it didn't, because what I found is that I was more interested in helping people, not to my truth, but to people that had never explored truth at all. It's almost offensive to me, not the person, but the idea of lack of knowledge was offensive to me. Like I wanted people to really look at their rationalizations, look at and actually explore it. But I realized that, you're right. It did backfire in some ways, and then that there were so many people out there that believe so many things different than me. And that to me, it's as a fundamentalist, it's a matter of life and death, and not just physical death, but eternal death. So that means my father, who didn't believe as I believed, when he died, would be separated from me in hell for all eternity. And say my kids that aren't Christians, they're going to die and they're going to be separated from me from all hell. And I thought to myself, I'd rather just go to hell too then, because if these people that I love, right? I thought, how could I go to heaven? Even if I love Jesus, how could I go to heaven and knowing that they're going to go to hell? I don't deserve it. I'll just go right to hell with them. And, even in the Bible, the Apostle Paul says, he'd rather have been cut off from his own salvation that the Jews might be saved. He felt that I understood what he was saying. Like, it's not about me getting to heaven. It was about what's true and what's not. And, okay. So that being said, so I even had what really started this experience too, was I started listening to Jordan Peterson, and he was talking a lot about the Bible and about Christianity, but he interpreting it through not a fundamentalist viewpoint, but from a psychological viewpoint. And he was noticing how the tenets of Christianity and some other religions all really are good psychologically, how they benefit human beings. So, but to me and my fundamentalist family and friends, it's like, okay, what is he? Oh, he's a heretic. He's not preaching the truth. He's not a real fundamentalist. So we have to cut it off. What I'm saying? Is he saved or not? So that's what you're going to run into. And now for me, what I believe is really difficult because there's a part of me, and I think Alan Watts has talked about this too. Like you said, culturally, there's a part of my brain that is open to all knowledge and looking and searching and seeing the links between all truth, right? But there's also a part of my brain who is culturally anchored to Christianity. You understand what I'm saying? And I recognize that to fight that, to try to dig that out of me completely, dig that out and throw it all away, it leaves me empty in a way that I can't explain. If I was just to say, well, oh, Jesus was just another man. He's just like, I was listening to Alan the other day, Alan Watts saying, basically he believes Jesus was a Buddha. He was an enlightened one. And he was telling everyone the good news to him, the gospel, he said, was that everyone is God's son and that everybody has the same access as him. And he said the apostles don't understand. I mean, honestly, to any fundamental Christian, Alan Watts is a complete heretic. That's the truth. That's the truth. And so I think that you could even be, you could believe Christianity and you can have your own, and you can believe dogmatically in the Bible and still be friends with you, like say, and listen to you. But I think there's always going to be a barrier there between a fundamentalist of any religion and what you and how you see it, because the way you see it is that there could be, I think you believe in truth, you believe in objective truth, but maybe we all can't know it. And maybe we only see it through the filter of how we were raised or the culture we came from. You know what I mean? So I think I hope that answers your question. I mean, like, and there's a lot of people that would say, I'm a Christian, and you have to try to dig deep. Like, what does that mean? What do you mean by you say I'm a Christian? Does that mean you believe in Christ and him alone? What denomination are you? How do you interpret the Bible? Is it metaphorical? Is it literal? It's very touchy and very critical. And I think, like for me, I don't know, I just, that's hard for me to unravel, just to be truth. I don't like that. I like black and white. I like understanding something. That's why I studied theology for so long, because I thought I could understand every little mystery of the Bible and make it all make sense and how it all comes together. But it almost drove me crazy because there's so many things in the Bible that there's no perfect theology where everything in the Bible makes sense. And if you try to make it all fit together, it becomes you have to really flatten all the curves. You got to really push down things, unhelpful questions, things you can't answer. You just got to come up with answers for them and just accept it. And I had to back off from that because I'm like, well, I guess there is no real way to understand every mystery in there. And so, yeah, it's been a big change in my life. Honestly, it's been hard. As far as Jesus, for me to say that he's anything other than actually God himself is blasphemy to people that I understand like flat, to me, he's not, to a fundamentalist, Jesus is God. He's the Father, Son, the Holy Spirit. He is God. He's not the enlightened one. He's not an enlightened one. He's the only Son of God. And so I believe that he was God before he was born, and he was God made flesh. That's what a fundamental Christian would believe, that he was God made flesh. So, but then you read the Bible, I know it's a long answer, sorry. But no, when you read the Bible, it's interesting because, you'll say, well, Jesus is God. He's fully God and fully man. That's Orthodox Christianity. He's fully God and fully man. But even Jesus says things in the Bible that it's like, why did he say that? Like he'll say, no man, even me, no man knows the time or day, only the Father in heaven, when the world's going to end, when he's going to return. So if he is God, why didn't he know when it's going to end? Right. When he was a kid, he learned and he grew. He in the Bible, he was growing and he was learning, and it wasn't like he knew all the answers to everything. He just didn't. And he chose to not, the Christian answer is he chose not to take full advantage of his godhood, that he limited himself as a man. So in some respects, he was fully God, but then he was also limited as a man. So he allowed himself to be crucified, he allowed himself to have some things he didn't know, because obviously he could know him. If he was God, he should have known everything, but he limited his knowledge as well. And even in the Bible. So it's a difficult question.
Yeah, I guess you did give me a pretty good grasp of it. And I guess part of it was my hurt feelings on being involved in some of these Christian circles, but not, really being accepted when I have so much love for the people and the religion itself. And you answered that question. And you also gave a lot of great information for Christians and non-Christians alike that are listening to the end of this episode. But this is going to be the last question that I ask, because I'm rounding up on the time that I have to get out of here. But with you being a fundamentalist, why are you open to so many things that other fundamentalists would view as heretical, if I said that right, or blasphemous?
Oh, boy.
Yeah, I only got a couple minutes, Tone. You want to do the next episode on this question?
No, I would say that in some respects, maybe I'm not a fundamentalist anymore.